don't know how you are. There's a problem with the argument. Okay, now we're going to argue against it. If you're willing, there's a problem with the argument.
What was the question, man?
He had the question.
The problem is, by the way, we're both totally distant. We're brothers and we always argue together, you know that. So this is not something. So the problem with the argument is the understanding of the nature of and the nature of scientific proof in particular. Alright? Scientific proof in particular. Alright? So that is the difficulty. So we are disagreeing. Scientific proof in particular, right? So scientific proof has to do with not giving something 100% proof in the mathematical sense what he was talking about, or in the logical sense. We don't have that in science. What we have is examples from history, right? When we say replication, we must replicate the results of experiments. What we're saying is we must create the history. We must see in front of our eyes evidence in history that demonstrates what we're saying is true. That's what scientific method depends on, right? Now, logically, actually, that does not hold water. Why? Logically, even if something is true in all of history, it could be that tomorrow something else, the opposite happens. Right? Supposing in all of history we don't see any white swans, any black swans, which is why it's called the theory. Supposing in all of history we don't see any black swans, but then, and I say on that basis there can be no such thing as a black swan. It's not true because tomorrow the black swan can arise, and there are many such examples. So that's the first thing. The second thing to do with scientific theory has to do with explanatory power. Okay, and by explanatory power we mean is a set of understandings that enable us to to believe why what happened did happen, and therefore why what will happen in the future will happen. It gives us another the ability to predict. So experimental verification together with explanatory power and the ability to predict are what science is about. Right? Science does not get falsified in the way that we're saying. Now the trouble with
science does not get
falsified in the way that you think that evolutionary theory is getting falsified. Okay?
So why is this limitation put on it?
Well, there's no limitation. Evolutionary theory has a lot of predictive power. If you apply evolutionary theory to the impact of, for example, to HIV viruses or to the impact of medicines, and you can construct experiments to say, okay, look, I'm going to have bacteria in this set of bacteria. I'm going to do this to give it this kind of antibiotic, and this set of bacteria I'm not going to give this antibiotic to. And each time in the right-hand side, these bacteria, those that survive, I will take those and rebreed them. Very soon I will have bacteria that will be resistant to that antibiotic, right? This is a prediction of what? This is a prediction of evolutionary theory. Okay, this comes out of our understanding of how bacteria adapt to viruses.
Why isn't this an adaptation rather than...
Because, what is evolutionary theory about? It's about DNA changes, right? There are problems with evolutionary theory, I agree. That's the first thing.
What problems?
All right. The problems are to do with search space. Evolutionary theory can be depicted as the idea of evolution can be depicted as an algorithm that searches through space to find solutions. Okay? And the solutions are viable surviving organisms. Okay? Now, the algorithm must be efficient must be an efficient search algorithm through that space. So you have to understand the nature of the space, and you have to understand whether the algorithm is an efficient search mechanism. And it's difficult to see that is the case. The search space is very, very vast, and the algorithm, how is it able to find viable organisms?
When you say space, do you mean environment?
So search space. So that's that kind of problem. I've discussed this, I think, with you before, a couple of years ago. That this is my. I thought this is.
So broadly, do you accept evolutionary theory?
No, wait a second. Let me put caveat. I accept that broadly. I do accept.
And you're a Muslim?
I'm a Muslim.
Do you accept it for human beings?
No, not in the way that you. So that's the caveat. That's the big caveat. So,
You accept it for the rest of the animal kingdom,
so I accept it for the animal part of it.
but not us.
Not for the human beings are also animals.
Is that the only
Even the Quran, see, we are animals as well.
Yeah.
And we are animals
That's
and
the
something
only caveat
else.
you have. It's the human aspect of it. Okay.
The evolutionary theory has a great deal of explanatory power. It explains why the biota, the way the organisms are distributed in various environments, are distributed in the way they are. Without the explanation of evolutionary theory, you cannot understand that. It also explains, for example, why when you get one kind of environment in one place, and a very similar environment in another place, geographically very separate, you get very distinct species with very different histories, which look almost just about identical. Right? There are many examples of that, of fish, many kinds of fish, which you find fish in one in near Lake Tanganyika, which look, or some in Africa, which look look like one thing, and you find other fish which look identical in an environment with a similar kind of chemical and temperature conditions. Right? Why? Why do they look identical? Not just fish, you've got mammals which look identical in South America and they've come and the rest of in Asia. Why do they look identical? How come they look identical? They're completely different histories. The reason is because evolution forces them. The forces of evolution force them to adapt, to develop certain structures and stuff. Because that's what.
I think I've not been for a long time, and I think the last time I spoke to you, yeah, you were. Yeah, I think you did. Sorry. I think you didn't accept evolution when I spoke to you before. No, you always have.
When I was in doubt, I remained silent. If I'm in doubt about stuff, I keep silent. But I'm more wise and larger by and large.
Did Adam evolve through the animals, through nature?
That's a bit low, isn't it?
That's what we were talking about that earlier on. I mean, he asked me whether I believed it for human beings. Look, what do you mean by whom?
Did Adam evolve through the nature?
Adam was created by God.
One step away from
So all the others weren't. Oh, they were as well, yeah.
Well, but Adam was created by God. How? Yeah, I've not said
From
how.
dust. From dust or something.
So how do you explain, in your understanding of things, without a conscious agent programming the DNA, just when the DNA changes on itself by mutation and this can all happen?
Okay, he's asked the question: how does one explain the appearance of design? Is what we're saying, without a conscious agent in DNA. That's what in directing the effect.
I don't think there is an appearance of design.
Evolution's happening from one species to the other, just by mutation itself.
Why is there a direction to it? Right? First of all, there is no direction necessary. There's no reason to believe that
Things do devolve then. Is that what you're saying?
There's no target at the end of the time.
Are you saying things devolve? We have lots of examples.
things devolve. The bone and the back of your beard.
No. Species. So say through mutations, things becoming actually a devolved species.
Yeah, blind Salman. You see species which live in the dark, which have the vestiges of eyes. They had eyes in the past. Why do they have vestiges of eyes? Why are there vestiges of eyes? Why are their eyes so dysfunctional when clearly they were functional before?
Flightless bats in New Zealand. Why are there
But the word devolution would still not apply. Because at all times what is happening is that they are optimizing for their current environment. And that is not a devolution at all. Well, they're always evolving to a new environment, to the new circumstances.
How is a blind organism like this?
The sun.
Well, you see, now again, you're being subjective.
Your judgment on...
You're being subjective.
Yeah.
You're saying that having eyes is better than not having eyes, but that's not necessarily the case. In that case, it is better not to have them because the cost of having eyes, the brain power, the neurons, and whatever you need to be able to have eyes is expensive and is better spent on other stuff for those organisms. So the optimization is for a particular organism, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created a system that optimizes, self-optimizing in a very, very interesting way. But it doesn't follow that there is such a thing as. You see, the word evolution has two connotations that are relevant here. All right, and you're taking kind of a mistaken turn in understanding which connotation applies. All right, evolution can mean change, as that there's evolving, right? But evolution can also mean an improvement, right? And there's a second improvement concept that is not applicable to the theory of evolution. There's no concept of improvement. There is a concept of optimization for particular circumstances.
Which would be an improvement.
Well, no improvement. What do you mean improvement? There's no improvement in any abstract sense. Every particular niche has its own optimization. So there's no improvement in that. You cannot say that a salamander is better than a lizard.
No, but you can, no, I mean not in comparison, but
That's
an
right.
improvement within the species. You improve,
Okay.
the species can improve to survive in its
Let's take
environment.
an example. So say that it is better to be tall than to be short in certain circumstances.
Yeah.
For example, in playing basketball.
Yeah.
Right? I used to play basketball when I was a kid and I stopped playing when
Yeah.
everyone got taller than me. And you're taller than me. So now, is that an improvement? Well, there are other circumstances in which it is better to be short.
I don't think that's
No, wait a minute.
question of evolution.
Wait a minute. There are other circumstances in which it's better to be short, right? For example, it is better to be short when you live in mountains. It's good to have big lungs. I'm probably from a mountain stock, looking at my.
Yeah, because of the gravity pull.
Well, no, not because of gravity.
Higher up, and they got a stronger gravity. That's why they're
Stability
smaller.
and God knows what.
That's what they say.
It appears, if you look at people who are mountainous, like in the Andes, like in the Kashmir, like in various mountainous areas, people are shorter,
Yeah.
big lungs.
That's because of the gravity, because they're higher up and the
Higher up,
gravity's
you have
pulling
less
them.
oxygen, but
And you know,
Yeah, and the
flattest
gravity
nation in Europe
pulls.
is also the
now,
tallest
big
nation
tall
in Europe.
people. I'm from Pakistan. I'll give you two examples of the disparities in height. So, mountainous people, very near, some of the tall, in fact, the highest mountain in the world, Pakistan. Short, big lungs, very good cardiovascular systems. Plains, farmer types, very huge people, very, very big, very, very strong, but not short, very different, totally, you'd think they're, if you were from Mars, you'd think different species.
Are they genetically same?
Why would that
Are
happen?
they genetically same? Or the differences?
There are some
They can
genetic
interbreed.
differences. It is the genetic differences that cause the height differences from parent to child.
Which is due to the gravity.
It's not
anything
the
else.
same species.
Yeah, well, this species boundaries is no longer believed in the way that you thought you were talking about.
Fine.
Well, no, look, there are species. There are species.
Was there species?
But
Oh, sorry.
at one time, not long ago, people said, well, they can't interbreed. Well, there are plenty of examples where they do interbreed, viably.
Was there hominid species before Adam?
Yes.
Homo erectus and
There were probably Homo sapiens before Adam.
Homo,
This is, you see, it's my thoughts are very
Heidelbergensis.
complex on this, right?
and they was around before Adam, and then Adam came just half a million years after them. Adam, because they've got Heidelbergensis, and they've got them living alongside as well. Neanderthals, they got them living alongside humans.
And also, what are the other ones? The Neanderthals and the ones in the east. What's the name? You know what I mean? Apart from Neanderthals. No.
Heidelbergensis. Heidelbergensis was the father of and then we had Homo erectus, Homo habilis.
Yeah. Not habilis.
No,
But
no.
anyway, those are very old. So yeah, I agree. It is now thought that there were many coexisting species, and in fact, now it is thought that it is very difficult to find an individual line backwards from Homo sapiens backwards. And the reason
It's not difficult.
now as I'm saying that what people are saying.
Yeah, there's a time when
who are
there's
in
some
the
bones
field.
missing from
It's nothing
200,000
to do with
years.
bones. What they believe now is that there was a lot of interbreeding amongst these
Yeah, definitely.
very close related species.
Yes.
For example, now we know for sure that there was interbreeding, well,
Yeah.
not for sure, but with a high probability that there was interbreeding between Neanderthal
And humans. Because we've done the DNA now. We know for sure. Now Saventi Pablo has got the Neanderthal DNA and he's tested it with all the human DNA, and he's proved that.
I can't hear two people at the
Yeah,
same
sorry.
Here's the
Yeah, sorry. Saventi Pablo, he was the one that discovered the Neanderthal DNA, and he's matched it up with human DNA, and it's in Asian people and Caucasians and all that, but not in the original Africans who are still in Africa. Yeah, that was and that's fact.
Yes,
And
Sub-Saharan Africans, you will be purebred humans.
And you will be interested to hear that, for example, there's another strain which which exists only in the DNA
Yeah.
of Tibetans.
Oh, sorry?
Of Tibetans.
Typicals, what are they?
The people in Tibet, Himalayas.
Okay, yeah.
The Tibetan
yes.
plateau. And possibly, people like me.
Yeah, and all of us.
Possibly you, because you have those features.
Yeah. All Asians.
Not all Asians, just around the Himalayas.
Okay.
They were highly adapted to low oxygen conditions, and you don't find that particular strain anywhere else. And it is thought that was a result of interbreeding between those guys and other proto-human, near-human in that area. It is thought, just like we have a Neanderthal strain in us, all of us.
So are you?
About through just genetic variation within the species.
There are some mathematical arguments about over the incidence. I'm not 100% sure why, but there is an argument for it, which is to say that the way it occurs.
Right. All of a sudden.
Not always, possibly, but possibly also. But no, you see, genetic variation will also occur all of a sudden. I think it is. I'll have to look it up. Good question. I don't know.
I have to say, I've never seen you so quiet.
Because he's my friend. I want him to explain to you.
When he's talking about stuff when he's talking about stuff that I don't know about, I'm quiet.
What you don't realize is this: I want him to explain his position so you understand where he's coming from.
It's not
I understand where he's coming from.
I think that Adam was. What I say, Adam was
what's the definition of species and what's the definition of species?
I think we've moved on from that.
No, just there.
Clearly, you have a two different definition of species. So you haven't really understood its definition, where it's coming from. He's saying the Neanderthals were interbreeding. With your definition, they won't be able to breed.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so that puts Neanderthals as not a separate species. Because
everybody says they're separate species.
Yeah, exactly.
So the people who talk about species or not, i.e. the specialists in the field of speciation, say Neanderthals were a separate species, but
they were human-like.
But that they interbred with human beings.
Human-like.
Right?
Yeah.
And the humans that were around at the same time,
and they interbred viably, right?
That's what I know. It's a blurred line, but
you have to now define species properly. You can't say blurred line. If you want to define species, which is your working definition, stick to that consistently.
But we make words to fit real life scenarios we need to describe. Okay, so maybe the word species has been around for hundreds of years. Now, as we grow with our knowledge and we find out that this perhaps doesn't fit as well as we hoped it would fit, perhaps the term becomes a little less definable.
Use a definition that you can consistently use.
As far as I would define species.
No, are you a scientist?
No, you're... Okay, so
then you and I define what a species is.
Then why are you asking me what my definition of species is?
You asked the question first.
What your understanding?
Right. You asked the question. I didn't ask the question. You did.
I'll say again. As far as I understand.
Okay. Who asked the question? What is a species? Definition of a species.
I forget now. Who was it?
You did. So if you are going to operate on a definition consistently, you need to say this is my definition. And now clearly, hearing from my brother explanation, your definition is obviously changed. Are you taking his definition?
No. My definition remains.
Okay. What was your definition?
I'll see it on the video.
Two parents that cannot produce viable offspring are of separate species.
So now we agree that that's wrong because by everybody in this.
It makes sense.
Most people
so they must have been similar to us.
Neanderthal. Good example.
Well, because we have now defined that Neanderthal is not. Okay, this is where the blurred line comes in. That much of a separate species.
Who defined that?
Sorry?
Who said that?
The scientists.
Which scientist has said that?
No, I'm just thinking on my feet here.
In general.
I'm not going to refer you to any scientists.
They were human-like because they made spears and things like that. And tools.
But this is your.
By the way, there's some
this is us trying to fit the context into the framework of what the word describes.
Okay, let's get away from species and ask what the issue was. The issue was whether there is evolution or not. Perhaps. Do you yourself?
No, what I want to move even backward is the origin of things, because
that's much more interesting.
Yes, because you can have, this kind of DNA programming, which itself is programmed to actually cater for these mechanisms. It's possible. But where does this program come from in the very outset, from the very beginning? So when you have all this in abiogenesis, there was matter to begin with. There was no life. life, and life then formed from this matter.
That's correct.
So, what is your explanation on how?
Don't have one.
What are the scientists telling you? Which you?
They don't have one.
How the matter got there?
They have several models that could have happened, but they don't. There's no
Which
way
one
of
makes
them-
sense to you?
I don't know. I've not really explored them.
So if you have just matter, just suddenly the matter itself becoming alive or having properties of
Well,
life.
there are several explanations. Not all of them natural.
Let's take one
There's a
example.
supernatural explanation
Let's
for it
take
as
one
well.
example from an arbitrary example. There you go. There's matter there. All these amino acids floating around, all these chemicals.
Yeah.
And then it starts forming life-defining structures just by itself.
But you've defined. See, there we go. We run into the problem of language because you've defined life as if a switch went on.
Okay, let's simplify it. Right? The fact is that it is, I think, generally agreed that there is such a thing as organisms, which have a particular kind of complexity, and it is so much greater than non-organisms. The complexity of non-organisms, that there's a vast gap. Right? The crossing of that vast gap now is the question that is being asked. So what is being asked is whether random interactions or natural, ordinary chemical interaction of chemicals
By chance.
can, in the period available, produce life. So then that depends on what the period is that is available. And on Earth, that period is 4 billion years. Now, the first half billion years or the 4 billion years is kind of Earth being liquid.
Unsupported, life's unsupported.
Yeah, liquid magma. So we have got about 3.5 billion years.
Yeah.
And the question that arises is that period of 3. In fact, it is thought that organisms arose maybe 2 billion years ago. So now you've got 1.5 billion years between. Half a billion years. Organisms may have risen as quickly as early as half a billion years after it was possible for them for the Earth to sustain kind of organisms at all. So is that period big enough for the thing to happen randomly? That gap, because what this gap is simply a statistical gap, right? It's a gap. Can chance cross that gap?
Yeah, there was no
Chance
oxygen.
events. Oxygen came much later.
There was only carbon till we
oxygen
got
didn't
so.
happen. It was
That's what I mean.
Oxygen only
it
came
was
in trees.
Yeah.
On trees,
Yeah.
that is much
No, that's
later.
right. That's right.
So the answer is no. That's what I was thinking. I was talking about earlier. There's mathematical problem to do with the search algorithm, whether it can find efficient.
Right,
Let's
hear that. Expound
This thing keeps
bit more
popping into
further.
my head.
This is very important.
This statistical argument keeps popping into my head. I saw it once. I saw someone do it. And it's a deck of playing cards, okay, shuffled. 52 cards shuffled. Okay, and if you deal out those playing cards, okay, they will form a certain order. Random, but certain order. Okay? Now, the chances of those cards having come out in that order are absolutely astronomical.
This is the anthropic.
It's just
This is
happened
the anthropic
in
principle,
one deal.
This is an anthropic argument. You know what an anthropic?
Yeah.
This is an anthropic argument. Yeah, that it happened like that because we are here. Because the cards fell like that, therefore
But what I'm saying is
zero
statistics.
content. There's zero content there.
But statistically,
Explain a bit more.
to say it's impossible, improbable, maybe, but impossible. So what's the alternative?
The alternative is to have an explanation.
Great.
You see, if you want a naturalistic explanation, the difference is this is a non-naturalistic explanation. It's an explanation after the fact.
It's a supernatural explanation.
No, and a naturalistic explanation would say, look, these are the constituents, these are the properties of the constituents, these are the laws that govern their behavior. On those basis of those laws, we can track how it happened. Okay, that's a naturalistic.
Yeah.
What you're saying is, no, we're not going to do any of that. We're going to say there's an end result, therefore it must have happened. Therefore
No, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that.
You're not giving any
I'm not saying that at all. I'm not saying that at all. As far as I know, I've not really looked in depth, but apart from reading the odd paper and the odd article on it, is that the modelling that scientists scientists have done to go from non-organic chemicals
So I was going to talk about that.
to
You interrupted me when I was talking about
replicating
rather than you
to
saying something you don't
replicating
know about.
chemicals and then onto life, what we know as full-blown life. The models that they've done cope with that gap. As far as I understand it, they do.
Give me a name.
Sorry?
Give me a name.
Oh, I can't.
Well, that would help.
But what, you know, if
I've got a fossil list in my back pocket.
Well, it's nothing to do with fossils.
you can,
Yeah, transitional fossil list I've got in my
It's
pocket.
nothing to do with fossils. This is before they were bones.
Yeah, of course.
Before they were fossilized.
Yeah, sorry.
I don't think it's presenting a problem that people science is going around going, well, we have
Shall we
to-
hear the mathematical problems that you think there are with this model? Because you interrupted when you was just about to present
Can I
it.
just ask you what if there is if there's no natural explanation for that crossing that gap, what explanation is there?
Well, there are two ways of approaching it. The scientific approach is saying we don't know.
Yeah.
And that's it. And stop there.
No, not stop. Not stop.
No, and then say we'll look to find out.
Yeah.
We'll work at finding out.
Yeah.
But at the moment we don't know, and that's what the scientists.
That's a truthful, honest answer.
Yeah, that's what, from a scientific point of view, that's what I would answer. But there are other problems too. As you go, it is not just the problem to do with the arising of life. In fact, funnily enough, the biggest problems are to do with the nature of the universe as it is and why it is the way it is.
Let's deal with the planet. Let's just deal with the planet and evolution on this.
Was it not photons?
Well, look,
Photosynthesis created molecule shells.
well, that's much later. Okay,
I'd rather be interested to find out from your position what are the problems. So you started talking about the mathematical problems, and you go by one, elaborating these problems. And you need to hear them. Why there are problems according to over here.
So the problem with the evolution co-creating organisms is that it takes too long. Evolution can do it from zero. In theory, of course, anything can happen if your particles interact.
Zero.
I.e. from just ordinary particles of the kind that they were around, chemicals of the kind that were around. When they were,
Chemicals.
yeah. If there were chemicals, we can hypothesize certain kind of chemical interactions being abundant or non-abundant at particular times in the Earth's history. And on that basis, you can make an assessment of the likelihood of interactions leading to certain kinds of results. And on that basis, it just takes too long. Because you only have, like I said, 2 billion years maybe. Well, I say only. 2 billion years is a fair amount of time, isn't it? But that appears not to be sufficient to cover this gap. Because people do not recognize the astonishing complexity of cellular organisms.
Yeah.
You know, it is really quite astonishing how complex they are.
Yes.
Right? And people don't recognize the gap between a non-cellular organism, just in, a chemical structure.
Right, okay. So
for example,
can I just be certain of the definition here? When you say the gap, are you going from just chemicals into
any kind of non-organic
reproductive.
So now there are intermediary chemicals, like there are amino acids and so on.
Yeah.
Those are, even people say, wow, this is a big kind of step forward, because you can find traces of them in this, in the spectra of.
I'm still interested in how you're defining life. If you're saying the gap from non-life to life.
I've not used the word life.
Okay, so self-replicating. So this gap then, can we just define what's each side of this gap that's impossible to cross? What's each side of the gap?
Barren
The
lands.
degree of complexity. There's a jump in complexity.
Okay, so are we talking
There's
about
nothing in between.
right? But nothing in between. But the finished point we're trying to get to is what?
Cellular organisms.
Cellular organisms. So that's multicellular, single cell, a replicating cell. Okay.
Does the sun not interact with the planet Earth and then
But it does.
There are many.
Now, there's
many stages on that path.
There's so-called intermediate state, which is viruses. Right?
What do you mean so-called intermediaries? do you mean?
And if you wait for me to finish my sentences, I'll be able to understand what I'm saying. So there's a so-called intermediate, which is said to be viruses. But viruses now people think, well, maybe they're not intermediate, but they are actually consequent upon the exit. Because they are actually what you would call devolved.
But I would define a virus as life.
I didn't talk about life at all.
I know, but
No, but it's alive. It's alive.
This is what we're trying to get to, isn't it? It's from chemical to
Yeah,
life.
yeah, it
We're
is.
talking about complexity. I'm only talking about complexity.
Okay, so a virus is a complex thing, and yet you've just defined that as an intermediary. I would put.
I have not defined it. People have said
You
that
just
they.
said, you just
no,
said.
I said people have said. Well, don't you hear my words? If you're so calm down and listen. Calm down and listen. People have said that viruses are intermediate between non-life, well, non-cellular chemicals and cellular organisms.
Organic matter and non-organic.
No, I'm not.
matter. Shall we put it like that? How should we put it then?
Yeah,
How should we define it?
I'm going to only talk in the words I use.
How does it come about?
Then if you're saying to me that the gap is
Why can't you
populated,
interrupt me?
like if you're saying
Shut
to
up, my
me,
man. What's your name?
Neil.
Look, shut up, Nick. Just listen.
No, because I need to make sense. If you're explaining to me, if you're explaining something to me, I need you to understand it.
You will
Otherwise,
understand it
it
if you
fails
just-
as an
If you allow
explanation.
him to explain, then you'll understand.
Stop interrupting. Right? You'll find that
Can I just define one thing? Okay. What this gap you're telling me now in the intermediary process in that gap is a virus.
I didn't say that.
You said, did he say it was intermediary?
I said some
You
people.
said that people say
Yeah,
that, so
exactly.
I'm trying to see where you're getting
Yeah,
at with
but he's
what
not letting me
some
get there.
people say
Yeah,
about
He's not
viruses.
trying to be interrupting
I'll
each
tell you
time,
what,
right?
you stand there, I'll listen. Look,
Okay.
you can
So what-
sorry, what's your name?
what-
However, now some other people, or maybe some of the same people, say that actually viruses may be the result of having cellular organisms devolving, so-called, evolving in a different way, and losing some of the structures that require them to be self-replicating. Because a virus is not self-replicating. A virus requires the structure of a cell to replicate.
Right.
That's the big difference between viruses and other cellular
Molecule cells, yes.
Right. Now,
Which is that why
now
you're
the
saying
question
some
then
people-
arises: how do viruses arise? Okay, this is the difficulty. So then people think, well, they couldn't really have arisen by themselves because they can't replicate.
they need a host.
They need a host.
can't.
So the
they're-
host
they're-
must have-
that's why some
so they
people
must
don't
have-
classify
yeah.
them as living things
Yeah,
because
and-
they're not.
Yeah, and so therefore, but not only that,
Yeah.
the host must pre-exist.
Yeah.
Right. So that's it.
So they
therefore,
can't
they're
really
not.
be
they're not
intermediate
exactly.
because
Good.
of the fact that you
Now,
have to
if you
have
had-
separate
If you had bothered to listen to me, he'd have got there. Now we have got there. Right. Right. Exactly. Good. That's all.
So yeah,
Now,
so
but
you're not agreeing that obviously
I don't
he's
know.
not saying that.
I'm not a biologist. I'm not a
Right.
biologist.
Okay.
Okay, so I don't know. But I'm saying that I understand the arguments. Now, there's some arguments other than this argument. Now, I'm stated enough about this argument, about the abiogenesis. Now, let me state this in a single sentence now about what we have talked about so far because I want to move on. Abiogenesis has a problem in the statistical improbability of it given the amount of time available. And by improbability, I mean close to zero probability, right? It has a serious problem. Everybody understands it. Okay? So that's where we are with that. I'm going to move on from there to an even bigger problem. Right? The bigger problem is, you will have heard of the multiverse.
The multi what?
Multiverse.
Like a multi-universe.
Multiverse. You've heard of that.
Okay.
Because why? Where did that come from? What's that idea?
Imagination. There's no proof of it.
There's a reason for that. There's a reason for that. That is as a solution, I would say non-solution, to the bigger problem. The bigger problem is that the way the universe is organized today is not explainable. Given our
Natural order, we call it natural order.
We can't see and organize something that's so much bigger
Again,
than
you see,
us.
I was about to explain what I meant.
Order out of chaos.
Let me explain. Not the way it is organized such that, for example, we can exist,
Okay.
right? Requires the universe to have certain characteristics,
Right.
right? For example, it requires the interparticle forces, of which we know of four, to have certain strengths, for example, right? Now, the likelihood or there is no understanding of why those features, of which there are about 23, should have exactly those values that they have. If they had even slightly different values,
we wouldn't.
There would be no life.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? So, in order to explain this, physicists have racked their brain now for about 50 years, 40 years. Right? In fact, more than that. And they have come up with the idea of the multiverse. What they're saying is there are actually many universes and we're just one of them.
There could be too many universes. Could be.
There is
Yeah.
zero proof for it. There is zero evidence for it.
Yeah, it's fine.
Zero proof, zero evidence. Just to explain this, people like my friend here and me would say, there's God, you know. But they say, no, it's better to have an infinite number of universes as an explanation than to have one God. Right? Why? Why is that better? Even from a physicist point of view, it's not.
I wouldn't say either is better. I'd say just neither can be proved. You can't prove either because we can't. There's literally no way of knowing.
Well, we can have strong reason to believe in the existence of God, which is, I can come to if you like, which is like a proof. I can give you a kind of proof for the existence of God. You are interested? Are you interested in that? You said there's no, you can't come in with proof, so I'm saying no, you're not.
Yeah, I'd be interested in the proof.
Well, it's a well-known proof. It's the Kalam argument. Have you heard of the Kalam argument?
What argument?
Kalam argument.
No, I've never heard of this
The
argument.
word Kalam, by the way, means word. Arabic word, means word. And it refers to a school of thought in Arabic philosophy.
Okay.
The Muslim philosophy that existed in around about the 10th century. From about the 9th century to the 12th century. Right? In Muslim lands, Muslim culture. And they created an argument for the existence of God, which is now used by some Christians as well. In fact, just about every theist now uses Kalam argument, because it's a very good argument.
Okay.
And what that says is that things cannot come into being on their own.
Well, yeah, I mean that's
Point A. That's just
that's
starting
also a
point.
scientific law. It can't be. Yes, it is. Energy cannot be created or
But
destroyed.
that's just energy, right?
The first two laws, yeah, they contradict
But
each other.
Energy is what creates it. You have to have it to be able to create things. It's essentially the same law in
All right.
scientific
I'll
terms.
accept it.
Okay.
But so now the question is, then this argument has more than one part, so you must listen to it. Right? The first is that things cannot come into the being existence. I'll tell you what the three parts are. One, that thing I just stated. The other part is that things must have a cause, therefore things must have a cause. But the third part is that the universe cannot have existed forever.
You said the third one is can't exist forever.
Could not have existed forever.
Oh,
It
no.
must have had a beginning.
Well, yeah, everything has.
Same as Allah must have had a
So if
beginning.
you accept that, so now you have accepted that the universe has a beginning.
Yes.
As of right now, I'd say so. Haven't really thought of it. I'll
Some
go
people
with that
say it
right
does
now.
have a-
Yeah,
some
I'll
people
go
say
with
it
that.
doesn't. Right. So if it has a beginning, then it must have had a cause.
Everything has a
Yeah.
cause.
So everything in the universe must have had a cause. Agree? So if there was no universe,
as far as I can.
if there was no universe, what was the cause?
Can you speak up a bit, please, sir, if you don't mind?
If there was no universe, what was? By the way, this is a very cut down version
Very
of the Kalam.
complex question.
Yeah, no, it's not complex. It's straightforward logic to what you have said, all right? Follow the logic of what you have said so far.
Right.
The universe must have a cause.
Right.
Well, I don't like the word, everything in the universe, not the universe. The universe is just a set. Everything in the universe must have had a cause. Right?
Yep.
So, it could not have existed forever. So there must have been a beginning and there must have been a cause.
And nothing can be.
But what was the cause? So therefore you must have to say. So now you have to say what was the cause.
I don't know that answer.
So you can't say you don't know. You can say you don't know.
Of course I can. I think I'd be ignorant to say if I didn't
Would you
know.
agree? Good. I agree. So
I
would you
agree
say
with
that
you.
that cause then therefore has to be outside the universe because it was before the universe? It is what caused the universe. The cause of the universe is not the universe. If the universe didn't exist forever.
Okay, so what would it be that would be outside of the universe that created us?
Well, it would be other than the universe. Forget the word outside there. It would be
Yeah,
other.
no, that's a relative term. I'm
What
just
could it
saying
be?
it's
Other.
relative.
It would be other than the universe, right? It would be non-universe. Nothing in the universe.
I can't disagree.
Nothing in the universe could be the cause of the universe. Because everything
Okay,
in the
I see
universe.
what you're saying.
Right?
Okay.
Everything, because the universe was caused by something else other than itself. That which is in it. Because.
But there's nothing. I can't say there's nothing else besides that. But
So now,
We don't
no,
know.
I can't
Yeah, you have just
agree with
accepted
you.
that there
No,
must be.
I know. I can't agree with you in the way that you're saying it because I know what you're
wrong?
trying.
Yeah.
I know you're trying to say
What's wrong
about
with what
some
I'm
sort of creationist that doesn't.
You yourself
that
have made yourself
doesn't.
a creationist by your agreement with the three terms I said.
No, I didn't know. That's not. I'm not saying I'm
Follows logically.
creationist.
Let's
That's
see if it follows logically or not.
That's what you're saying. You're saying there's some sort of outside being, some sort of outside creationist that wasn't part of our universe that then created us, which doesn't make sense.
One step at a time. We are not talking about beings.
Okay. No. Okay.
just
These are
talking about
relative terms because their language is limited, and I only have so many words to use.
Cool. So you have agreed that the universe has a beginning, or everything in the universe has a
Yes.
beginning.
As far as my
Everything
knowledge
in the
knows,
universe,
which is
everything in the universe has a universe. You are stuck. Are you sticking with that? Everything in the universe has a beginning.
yeah, I'd say that. Yeah.
There's no such thing as something arising out of nothing.
Not nothing. Nothing can arise out of nothing.
Good. You agree on that?
Right.
Even God.
Nothing can arise out of nothing.
Thank you. So how would Allah get there then?
But just because
Just that separate.
I don't know what it is, just because I don't know the exact thing of whatever it was 16
Wait a
billion
minute.
years ago when the universe was created, when
Generally-
it
generally agree
spewed
that
out
universe
all
was
these
created.
things that was be able to create the entire universe. Just because I don't know what that is doesn't mean that it came from outside of the universe, from whatever perspective you're saying it's coming from.
We don't need to understand the details to understand the argument, alright?
Right.
Can't enough.
The argument is very simple. Does it have a beginning? Yes or no?
Yeah.
We don't need to know what kind of beginning.
Right.
We don't need to know the exact form. Does it have a beginning? Yes or no? You say yes, it must have a beginning.
Yeah, there is a beginning.
Can a beginning happen without a cause?
No, okay, no, I agree with you on the facts that there is a beginning.
And there's a cause.
There is a cause because everything, as far as
So the next step-
humans have experienced,
Good,
everything
good.
needs a cause
Good.
and an effect.
Well done.
That's how it all works.
Very good. So the next step is the cause must be other than the universe. Anything in the universe. Because anything in the universe is subsequent to the cause. You have just said that.
I'd say that the universe was created by within.
Take your time.
Sorry, no, it's really
Yeah, it's important.
difficult to explain something now.
The natural laws of the universe?
Huh?
It'll come about within the natural laws of the universe.
Yeah, not an astronomer, so I'm not very good with universe terms. So
What terms you want?
no, but I'd have to just like
What are you disagreeing with?
with you. Okay, you specifically. What was it you specifically said? You specifically said that
You repeat that.
outside
I made 3 points.
outside of the universe.
Point number 1.
Say again.
Repeat my point.
Your 3 points are that things can't just be created out of nothing. That
Universe.
the universe has a beginning and it has to have a cause. I get your 3 points. I get your 3 points.
Now my fourth point is what we're stuck with. The fourth point is the cause cannot be in the universe.
I think it, I know
let me
that it
explain
has
that
a
bit.
beginning, but
If there was no
it
universe,
could be.
in a
Like
circumstance,
the universe would be whatever was here. That is the cause. It's not existential. It's not outside of
I'll explain why that doesn't work.
it. Explain why. Because okay, so
What you just said doesn't work.
that's just what I believe.
Yeah,
Just
no,
like that's what
but it could be that you're believing something that is gibberish. It could be I
you
believe.
said. That's gibberish.
I think so. So that's why.
But something that came outside of the universe that essentially did the same thing just because it came from a different place
I'll tell you why.
doesn't make what you believe
No,
gibberish.
there's slight difference in the two kinds of gibberish. I believe you accept the term gibberish for what I said, but it's slightly different kind of gibberish. I didn't mean to be insulting. What I meant was by gibberish is it didn't have meaning. You say that there was a circumstance which created the universe.
What is it? You against
Or everything in it.
you against 20 people. You put it okay, didn't you?
When that circumstance
I was in the comments.
had not come into
So you're
effect,
just a minority.
It's fair stuff he puts across.
Exactly. You're just a minority. I'm here.
No universe.
Everyone else.
if that
Yeah, no, I agree
when
with
that
that because there's
stop.
Okay.
Now let me talk.
Okay.
When that circumstance had not come into effect, there was no universe, but the cause occurred in that circumstance when there was no universe.
Say it again.
So there was a circumstance in which there was no universe,
Right. Okay, so there's
and that's
no
when
universe.
the cause occurred.
Okay.
That caused the universe.
So you're saying
there was no universe.
you're saying in other words that it didn't exist, and then there was a cause, and it did exist.
Yeah,
So and the cause can't be universe.
that's what we've got so far.
So the cause can't be in the universe. You don't need to understand physics. You don't need to understand the details. It's very simple. If you accept the universe, if you accept the universe is at the beginning, and that it must have a cause, then the cause occurred when there was no universe. There was a circumstance there was no universe, and then the cause happened, and that caused the universe.
Yeah.
So when there was no
You're just saying it in different words.
yeah.
Okay.
So when the cause happened, at that time there was no universe.
Okay.
In that circumstance, I use the word time, I should say. And in that circumstance, there was no universe.
Okay.
Good. So the universe and the cause are separate.
How are the universe and cause separate?
Because the cause occurs in a circumstance when there is no universe.
Okay.
So it can't be, the cause can exist without the universe, clearly.
Okay. I get what you're saying.
So you've got a problem, right? You have agreed that there is a cause and no universe. Right?
Yes.
I like the head.
Good. So now we are trying to examine the nature of this cause. Right?
Now what?
Now we examine the nature of this cause a bit, alright? Whether we can say anything more about this cause which can exist without the universe. Right? You have accepted that.
Okay.
Right? That it follows logically from it's not so now it's not so complicated once you get it. Like paraphrase. To understand what must be minimally true of the cause, we need to look at what it created. It created this universe. So minimally, that cause must have more information
Possibly,
than the information content of the whole universe.
What was that more information?
Energy, you can call it energy. Certainly the cause must have had more energy than the energy content of the whole universe.
You're saying outside the universe.
Because it was outside the universe and it caused it, and there was no universe.
It's a little bit confusing about what you're saying is outside the universe because I don't know what.
I didn't say outside. I might have said, but I was trying to keep away from outside, inside, and I was trying to keep away from time. So I was saying circumstance. In a circumstance means there was no universe, there was a cause, and the cause existed when there was no universe. In the circumstance when there was no universe, and it caused the universe. So the cause exists independently of the universe, and the cause therefore must have more energy than the universe.
Sounds fair.
At least than the whole of
Hypothetically.
gigantic universe. You accepted quite a lot except that.
I'm just a bit confused about how we can say
There's only one way out of this.
about how there's no universe, but then
Right, good.
and then
Good. You have to put
something I don't want to use the word outside, but then something was created.
A singularity. Singularity.
No, I'm not talking about similarities at all.
No singularity.
Well, they may or may not be similarities, but I don't confuse them with this. Some people do. Some people say Big Bang, and what I'm talking about is not the same thing at all. So let's.
Okay. Let's
There is a circumstance in which, okay, we'll stick to my original terminology. I don't tend to talk about the universe. I tend to talk about the contents of the universe, right? The things in the universe.
Yeah.
So I asked you, if you remember, does everything in the universe have a beginning? And you said yes. And therefore, prior to the beginning of the first thing, if you like, there was no universe. There was nothing. Is there such a thing as a universe other than its constituents?
No.
Good. We agree on that. There is no such thing as a universe other than its constituents. The universe is simply the term we use to denote everything, right? So now, if everything in here has a beginning, and therefore there was a circumstance in which there was nothing, then there must have been a cause for these things to come into being.
Right.
And you agree with that, and that cause must have an energy. By the way, you talk about energy. There are two major constituents of the universe which physicists talk about in the same sense. One is energy and the other is information.
The other is what?
Information.
Information. Okay.
So information cannot be created or destroyed. It's a fundamental principle, and energy cannot be created or destroyed. That's a fundamental principle. Most people don't hear about the second one because it's a bit complex, but they both exist. All right. So now the energy content of the universe and the information content of the universe must be less than that of the cause. So it's quite a ginormous cause.
It must be less than that of the cause.
The cause must be bigger than that. The cause must be bigger. The cause has to be bigger than that which it caused.
See, this is. What do you mean by the cause has to be bigger than what exists in the universe?
In terms of energy content and in terms of information content. Certainly in terms of information content.
The energy and the information have to be larger than what exists in the universe today.
Yeah, precisely.
Okay, well, how, like...
Because they can neither, as far as we know, they don't get created or destroyed.
Right.
The universe, the laws of the universe as we know it.
So it should be the same. It can't be bigger or less than, it's the same.
It could be at the very minimum the same, I agree. Assuming a zero change. So the cause, if it's the same, then the cause effectively becomes the universe. There's no what you're talking about. Because then the whole of the cause became the universe. There's nothing left of the cause.
Yeah.
That's a feasible thing, but in this case you're no longer a beginning in the sense that we were talking about. But we're talking about a beginning.
Where is Allah in all this?
The cause is Allah. Allah is
But, so can you, was Allah was Allah created from something, or was He always there?
well, now that's an interesting point.
No, that's what I was waiting for you to get to. Thank you.
But let me answer that one.
What was it you said?
Why would the cause not have a cause?
Something has to come from something, but they say Allah was always there. He never come from nothing, which goes against what we're all agreeing on.
The rule about everything have a cause comes from where?
From what we observe
Of what?
of life and
Of what?
everything around us.
Of the universe.
Yeah.
It's a rule to do with the universe.
Yeah.
It does not apply outside the universe to that.
As far as we know, because we can't say.
So this rule that Allah has to have a cause does not apply because He's outside.
According to you, yeah.
We just agreed that He must be, right?
No, we said something must be. Yeah, maybe something's outside. We didn't agree that Allah.
Whatever it is. Forget
Yeah,
the
yeah,
term. So that's something this rule does not apply to.
Sorry?
This rule about everything having a cause,
Why doesn't it not?
because it's outside.
But could it also be Zeus, or could it also be Armin?
Forget the terminology.
Yeah, I know, but he's saying this thing that's
Call it energy or whatever.
energy, yeah.
No, it's not energy.
No, it's not energy.
Cause. Use the word cause. Use the word cause.
Yeah.
The cause.
So is there any proof that Allah caused it?
Let's talk about the
This is the question. This is the big question.
I don't want to go around in circles.
Neither do I. I would just like the answer.
This is a terminological thing, and I'm not getting it.
Right, so we're not going to give you the answer how you were supposed to get there.
I'm giving the answer. I'm saying that there is a first cause.
Yes.
The first cause does not require to be caused because the laws of the universe do not apply to it because it's independent of the universe.
That's what you're assuming.
No.
It's something independent.
I'm not assuming. It's a consequence of the very simple argument we have just used.
Yeah, okay.
There's no
okay.
assumption.
Yeah,
The
fair enough.
assumption is that the universe must have a beginning. That's the only assumption.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah.
Right? And no, there are two assumptions. One, that everything must have a cause, and the second is that the universe must have a beginning. These are the only two assumptions. The rest follow. They're very simple. So I'm not making an assumption that Allah is the cause or anything. I'm just giving the name Allah to that cause for other reasons to do with the nature of the cause, what it must have been. Right? That's all. The cause must have been bigger than the universe. It must be independent of the universe. It can't be part of the same chain of events. It must be independent of the chain of events. Otherwise, if it's part of the chain of events, we have not got to the beginning.
See, that's where my argument has to end with you, because I can't say if something is bigger than the universe if there's only the universe, like, you know what I'm saying? So there's nothing that I can say for or against
But it follows also.
your argument, because
Let me retract something I've just said.
that's outside of my expansive knowledge of what exists and what hasn't
Yeah,
existed.
that's very fair. But you have said that everything must have a cause.
Yes.
And you have agreed that the universe, therefore, and you have agreed that the universe has a beginning.
The universe what?
But everything in the universe has a beginning. You have agreed.
Yes.
So therefore, you are.
But that doesn't mean that I know that knowledge applies to knowing if something bigger than the universe exists or not.
Well, but you have agreed that everything must have a cause.
Yes, I have agreed that.
So therefore, there must be a cause prior, independent of the
Just
existence
because
of the universe.
no, just because there's a cause and there's a beginning. I can say that there's a cause and there's a beginning, but I don't have to agree with the fact that I think that or know if something bigger than the universe exists or not.
Bigger, but the word bigger is something.
Bigger, but you
there
whatever,
are two
relative.
things that have to be clarified to you. Let me clarify two things. One is that I am only talking about the universe in a metaphorical sense. What I'm really meaning is the particular.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
Because I don't think there's such a thing as the universe, other than it doesn't have an independent existence. It is just the consequence, right? So that's the first clarification. The second clarification is the nature of what I mean by bigger.
Not big. Let me rephrase. Not bigger, outside of.
No,
Not bigger.
I did say bigger myself.
Yes.
In the
Okay.
sense of energy and information.
Yeah.
Those I meant. And that must follow. If you think about it, go away and think about it. These two things. That the cause must have more energy and more information.
No, I said earlier that that's not necessarily true. I can't agree or disagree with you on that.
Go away and think about it. Yeah, but that is where the hurdle is, right? And you need to think about that.
Yeah.
What about the point about the cause? Is the cause other than the universe?
Yes, she agreed.
No, I said that I don't know.
Oh, no, you are
No, I don't know.
Well,
Does it not have to be?
there was a circumstance where there was no universe and there was a cause.
I said there could be a cause, but I said I can't go any further than that because I
but then
don't know.
At that time, in that circumstance, there is no universe.
Okay.
So it's independent of the universe. It is independent of the universe if there is no universe.
Once you say
Even there is no universe, then there is a cause.
wasn't there, then it follows that the cause that caused the universe is independent of it.
Fair enough.
Yeah? So you have
I can see where you're coming from.
you're-
Yes.
you-
I can see.
you saw that
I
a few
can
minutes
see your logic. I don't have any other logic because
there.
I can see how you are coming
Stay
to
there and think about that. Yeah, because you need to get past this hurdle, right? Or no, you must resolve this one or the other for yourself.
No, I don't think we're going to resolve this today. So
Sometimes we do.
fair enough, though. Fair enough. I can see where you're coming from.
We also say by definition is not able to comprehend knowledge is unable to comprehend